Yes. I thought I can send you. It's like. Like I know, but I think at times that doesn't fit.
Oh. Well, came to my head.
Yeah, okay, everyone, we will call the Monday, February 9th, 2026 board meeting of the Bethlehem Public Library to order. Before we have public participation, we will have Sarah read our general statement.
Beginning and ending each library board meeting with public participation is an opportunity for community members to express their thoughts on library operations to the board. Because the purpose of the monthly meeting is to conduct board business, it is not a time for back and forth debate with members of the board. If specific questions are presented during public participation and the relevant information is readily available, the board will make an effort to address the question in the course of the meeting. Otherwise, community members may follow up on any questions by directly contacting the library director or the board via email, or speaking to them after the meeting. We will advertise organized opportunities to speak directly with board members. A reminder that all library policies apply at board meetings, including the patron conduct policy and the harassment policy.
Do we have any public participation?
Yes, please.
Good evening. I'm Mary Service. I'm president of the Friends of the Bethlehem Public Library. I want to thank you all for considering the needs of the Friends and they're discussing uses for the board's property at your general meeting. Particularly in terms of storage and some sort of facility for perhaps ongoing book sales. So the book sale co-directors and I, Barbara Clay and Claire Crawford, who's here tonight, discussed those suggestions. We discussed thoroughly the idea of a structure that could store books and be open periodically for sales. We considered the number of volunteers that might be needed to organize it, staff it, maintain stock, deal with issues that come up, and there are always issues that come up. We also considered expenses that might occur and decided that the return on the investment of money and volunteer time would not be significant now. In terms of storage or discards that are main part of our twice yearly book sale fundraisers, we realized how limited storage is at the library. And our board meeting is next week, and we're going to discuss how the Friends can contribute to some sort of storage. Whether I say facility, shed, structure. We're also going to talk about other suggestions that you had made that the Friends might consider with the library, such as a pavilion on the site, and how that might, help Friends activities and programs, as well as those of the library. And finally, we're going to urge the board and Friends to come to the community forum on Wednesday, February 27th. Thank you.
Do we have any other public participation? Anything online?
Nope.
And before we go around and introduce ourselves, I will also echo that in our statement, we say that there are periodic opportunities to come speak with the board. And it was referenced in our public participation. Just a reminder to the public that on February 25th, we are having a cookies and coffee session with the board. It's an opportunity to come and just casually chat with us, have a snack, warm up with a cup of coffee or cocoa, and enjoy. So I'll do introductions. I'm Caroline Francatella, President.
Sherry Whiting, Board Treasurer.
Sarah Patterson, Vice President.
Laura DeBetta, Secretary. Gail Sacco, trustee.
Jill Adams, trustee.
Mark Kissinger, trustee.
Michelle Walsh, trustee.
Jeff Kirkpatrick, library director.
Okay, we will start with a review of the previous meeting's minutes. Questions or comments? I'll take a motion on those.
I'll make a motion to accept the previous meeting's minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. We will move on to the financial report.
The report that's included in the board packet is as of January 31st. Expenses are tracking on budget. Salaries and benefits are slightly over. That's due to the fact that we paid the retirement bill in full for the year in November. That'll eventually smooth out. We do have some overages in some other lines. Gas and electric in particular is over by 16%. And we expect health insurance to be over budget as we start paying the 2026 rates because we budgeted for a rate that was lower than what we actually received. I do want to mention that we have spent 64,000 out of the capital improvements line. I know I mentioned in the past that we don't usually spend too much out of that line, but this was a little bit of an unusual year, and some of it is carry forward of repairs that were done last year, but the bill didn't come in until this year. As you can see, we had some expenses for replacing the skylights and repairing a cracked window, a furnace repair, and installing a new patio off the staff kitchen, as well as some electrical work. So that was, this is a little bit of an unusual year in terms of spending for capital improvements. But it's good that we have the budget so that we can do it. If you want to go to the actual report, we can just go through it, see if anybody has any questions. This, I don't usually mention this too much, but this is our cash and investment summary, and it shows you how much cash we have in the bank. Our checking account, our savings account, our treasury bill, the investments in the Metropolitan Bank. So we have, as of January 31st, we have a total of 5.7 million, which is right about where we normally are this time of the year. I don't know if anybody has any questions about the report or anything that you'd like to discuss. Revenue is, at this point, we generally have received almost 100% of our revenue. We'll get a little bit, the remainder of real property taxes will come in, I think it's in April. Other than that, we're just kind of chugging along.
What's the miscellaneous income? Way up.
It's,
So,
yeah, I forget.
sometimes when, people pay for proctoring of exams and they're not a Bethlehem resident, we put that in that, miscellaneous income. Things like when we sell, USB drives, that goes in miscellaneous income, so it's just little things.
But it's larger than usual. There was something that happened, I can't remember,
Last year.
that we put in miscellaneous income. It's 5,000.
Yeah, the Hungerford
Donation.
donation.
We get a donation sometimes from the Hungerford Trust.
Okay. That really should probably go under gifts and donations, which I think we changed it, but not in time for the report.
Right.
Right.
Oh, this is,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
what the increase is. That really was what you're correct.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the.
Why is it so big
Great.
compared to is, yeah.
What is it? Yeah, okay.
state aid went down, or are we expecting more state aid?
I'm sorry,
There's one,
the
small
state,
piece, they paid a 90%, there's a 10% piece that we still haven't gotten yet.
But you will get it, it's not that they.
As far as I know, yeah,
state aid,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
that we get from Upper Hudson, yes.
You get a 90% check and then a 10% check for that, so you're.
um. Any questions on expenses? As you can see, we're pretty comparable to last year. We're at 58.6% compared to last year at 56.4%. Slightly ahead. But we will likely come in right on budget for salaries and benefits. I'm sorry, for salaries. I don't know about benefits.
This only have 1 month of the new health insurance, right?
Right,
January, so
right,
that's the big bump.
right.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't know if anybody has any questions about the warrants and the checks that we going to be issuing. Or any other questions about the budget before we move on to, or about this report before we move on to the budget.
Am I correct, Jeff, that we need a motion on the report and then we'll do the draft
Yeah.
budget?
Correct, you need to
Right.
accept that, mostly because you need to accept the warrant, and authorize us to pay these checks, so.
It was Michael Brook.
That is a payment that is an employee, it's a payment for the, in the contract. Cold weather gear is reimbursed
Yep.
to, the maintenance staff.
Great.
Up to $300.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Okay, the draft budget.
We go on to the draft budget. We'll talk about fund balance after.
Yeah.
Just
For the public and for everyone here, Sherry did discuss the draft budget with the finance committee last week. So that has been addressed with, and a number of questions were asked and answered there. And this is the full board discussion on this issue.
right. We made a few modifications based on the discussion that we had at the finance committee meeting. This is a difficult budget, just by virtue of the fact that our expenses exceed the tax cap that we're allowed to the official levy limit. That's largely due to the fact that we are fully staffed and salaries have increased based on the contract. I think total salaries, I have it here somewhere, increased by 5.2%, which is pretty typical over the past few years of the contract. But when you add benefits into it, the total salaries and benefits, are increasing by 9.5%. By comparison, that increase last year was 5.6%. And that is due to the fact that the retirement you see jumped way up. It's almost or about a 19% increase. And health insurance, which is just a big question mark. We are including a 15% increase in health insurance. For the second part of the year, the first part of the year is higher because we budgeted a lower amount for this year's increase. So we're going to feel that impact next year as well.
And correct me if I am wrong. We are percentage-wise over what people think of the tax cap, but for the last few years, we've been under the tax cap. So we are not exceeding it in a way that mandates that we have anything special in terms of approving the
Right,
budget, correct?
right,
Okay.
right. The tax cap calculation at the bottom of the report, the 4.899 million is what was calculated when Jeff and I, did the calculation. That's what we're allowed.
The
based
budget
on.
as presented, I think the important thing to say is the budget as presented is within the New York State mandated tax cap.
Correct,
Right,
because
right.
every year that you go under, you can carry. Move it forward.
1 year, you can do a little bit, yeah.
Right,
Correct.
right. And I guess the other important point to note is in order to balance the budget, so that we are within the tax cap, we're recommending that we may need to take some funds out of the fund balance in order to balance the budget. We're looking at 225,000. This is what's needed in order to balance this budget. However, we generally have a surplus. A budget is made up of a lot of estimates. And I like to say that we get better each year because we know more, but that's not necessarily true because a lot of things happen, things change. Because of the fact that there are so many estimates, it's likely that, some lines we're going to be over budget, other lines we're going to be under budget. In the past, for the past 10 years that I've been doing this analysis, we've been over budget. I mean, we've had a surplus that averages out to about $370,000 a year. I think that's what the number was. Have to look when we get there. So that's a good thing. And I'm anticipating we won't need to use the entire 225,000. I'm anticipating that we might have a surplus in some other lines so that we'll end up maybe only needing to take a part of that out of the fund balance in order to continue operations.
And we are facing what everybody is facing.
Yeah.
Which is the major increases in health insurance and employee benefits, which are not really in the library's control.
Right.
However, we're a part of the finance committee. When we discussed ways as we move forward into the year at being very careful with how we spend our money and how we try to be efficient with the funds.
I think a couple points to make here is that one, when Sherry does the budget, she's very conservative in estimating that. So to her point of, yes, we will take a certain amount from the fund balance, it is extremely likely that we will not use that full amount because the estimates are conservative. And I think the other point here is that Sherry just said, sometimes you don't know more based on doing it more. We have to figure out what the trend is here. Is that the finance committee discussed not overreacting to 1 year. We have to find out if this is a trend. And we've talked with Sherry about doing some forecasting about projecting out so that we can have an idea of what things might look like, but that is extremely difficult to do right now. So right now we're looking at this as this year and how we can handle this year. And we'll know more next year about what is trending both, in the outside world and for us.
And, there may be some opportunities for doing something different with health insurance. We don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions there. If we are able to, we'll probably realize quite a bit of savings in that line if we can join a consortium, for instance. But sometimes the wheels turn very slowly, to try to get our foot in the door in some of these things. I am going to try to work on a forecast, but it's pretty challenging because there's so many, unknowns, and to try to go out into the future and project what retirement costs are going to be 3 years from now,
Well, we appreciate all your extra work and especially in answering all our questions.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I have one question on health insurance. And maybe it's how we present the numbers, but on that line, Looks like we're going from 430 to 562,
right?
okay? So it's a 30% change, but you talked about the note says assumes 15% increase on 1/1/27.
Right.
I think people will be like, what?
Why? The numbers don't make
Yeah,
sense, right?
Right,
The amount that we budgeted last year was too low. I mean, the amount that we budgeted for this current fiscal year that we're in, the 430,000, it was too low. It really should have been probably more like 460.
okay,
So if it had been 460, that percentage increase would be smaller. It wouldn't be 30%. It would be closer to the 15%. It would be, maybe around 20%.
no, I think we have to present that, I mean, like, I think FY 26 under budgeted, like, I understand it, but if
Yeah.
someone was reading it, they're gonna be like, what? You know the health insurance costs until when? December 31st, or
December 31st, that's exactly,
Right.
that's a known thing, right?
That's a non-thing.
And that's X, right?
Right.
January 1 till, what's our budget? It's June?
June 30,
So 6 months of it, you don't know.
right?
So you're saying you think that 6 months will be 15% increase? Like that's our estimate, right?
Right. That's right. That's right.
So-
And that's even with, I believe the contract requires some employee contribution towards health insurance.
so
So that's.
Yes,
an increase.
this takes that into account.
I'm just saying-
This is just the library cost.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's an increase.
Right.
The increase is actually higher, but the employees are also contributing toward, to the increase because they pay part of the health insurance. It's not, my point is, it's not 100% borne by the library, it's a shared cost.
So are you just saying like maybe can you put in the notes
Something
what the
else.
exact amount we know will be from July 1st through December 31st? And then,
and the question is, I just want to caution, because to throw yet one more
Right.
variable in this. We don't know the cost, because as employees change and people retire and new
Right.
people are hired,
But
it's significant. If one person if one person who wasn't taking our health insurance, because it's such a small group,
takes it, yeah.
if we have a person who retires who doesn't take our health insurance, and then we hire somebody who jumps on and they're on the family plan,
Right.
it's a significant increase, which is why, every year when we talk about what's the most volatile number in this budget, it's the health insurance, even though as an overall percentage of the budget, it is what it is. It's not huge, but it's very volatile, both because you can have employee changes, mid-year changes in the cost because of the way we budget, just the way that the open enrollment year is exactly 6 months off. So we know it for 6 months. We'd rather have that than not know anything for a year. So that's why we don't change. You'd rather have 6 months that you can know with some reasonable assurance. So we can talk about how we
You're
present that.
assuming a 2% turnover in librarians, right?
Yeah.
So so like, it's almost like who?
Yeah.
You're saying. it's
Statistics are small numbers, right? It's really difficult to get when you can have such a wide swing
Right.
between individuals in a group that is the max size of the group is 34 would be the maximum number of people that could be on that. And and so many people in our area have spouses that work for the state, so that we have plenty of people that don't take our health insurance and others that do. So it's just very hard for us to guess what that number is. So it is a volatile number. And
One person on a family plan could cost us what, like 20,000?
yeah, it's a $20,000 swing. So it's as a percentage of that number, because it's a relatively small number.
Yeah.
So it's even one more step complicated than that. So
Right.
we use these long-term running averages, and this year we saw a 20% increase. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna be surprised. The healthcare costs went up this year. Our healthcare costs went up 20%. So in this current fiscal year, right?
Yeah.
And then in the next 6 months. So we we use a long running average of like 10-ish, 8, 10.
Well, we've been bumping it up.
And we're bumping it up because it's just been going
Well,
higher and higher and higher. So
Okay, well, I mean, I think maybe, not sure what the words to use, but
I'll work on
A
something.
footnote of some kind.
footnote or something, just that. So when people look at this, quickly they'll say, oh, okay, I get that.
right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
particularly, I think, in the report that we put in the footnotes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
we
can
have to
put
do something
something
there.
there.
Good room in
Yeah.
there. No, I get it, and I think that you're right, I think how we explain it is important, because it is.
The other question I had was, for years, there's a percentage of budget towards collection.
Yep.
Are we, by this budget, are we deviating too much from that percentage, or are we?
It's
Are we
down
losing
some.
ground, or
Hmm?
we're losing ground on it? Cause
A
I remember,
little
I can't remember, it was 12 or 15, there's some.
Yeah.
magic-
Yeah, we try to be near 12, we want to be like 10, and you know, we still are, but it's yeah, it's down.
Okay. I just, but the long-term goal is to still get it to 12.
Yeah, I like it at about 12.
That percentage is significantly higher than other libraries' budgets.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the area.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, what people expect us to do with their tax dollars.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
You know, so I think it's important, and we've done a very good job with it, and I'd like, yeah.
So just to overview for the public, the library has not significantly changed its spending in any area or its estimates in any area. Other than to bring them closer to what we have actually spent in previous years. The main drivers of the budget this year are things that are out of our control, namely healthcare costs and retirement costs. We do not have to pass the budget until the next meeting. Does anyone have any questions, comments? You know, footnotes, things like that, that they would like to see added to this before we present again at the next meeting and take a final vote?
Shari worked really hard on this, and the finance committee seriously looked at it and asked for some changes and explanations and modifications. And one of the things the finance committee decided, I believe, is we're going to be keeping a very close eye on our expenditures as we go forward, so that we can make sure that if we need to make changes or as we can make changes, we will be able to do so.
Yes, if we need to change. If we see a trend, let's say halfway through, and we see that one line item is running significantly under budget, one line item is running significantly over budget, we can make those adjustments as necessary. Okay, I don't think we need a motion on this today, but if anyone has any questions, Sherry is available, and of course, the public is welcome to ask questions before the next meeting when we vote to accept the budget for next year.
And the budget will appear, you know, the official draft budget as proposed by. Before it votes will be in the footnotes, and that will go out before the vote, and then there'll be the budget presentation in May.
Yes, and the draft budget materials, correct me if I'm wrong, are all in the packet that was posted online on Friday, so it is available to the public.
Yep.
I did have one other report in the packet that I thought might be helpful. I have been keeping track of our fund balance, so this is a report of the fund balance history going back to 2015. You can see how it's grown. The last column where it says fund balance end of the year. In 2015, it was 2.5 million. It's grown to 3.6 million, even though we've spent some significant dollars on capital projects. The average budget surplus over that period of time is 370,000. It's obvious that budget surpluses are probably going to start going down and become smaller, but you can see what the surplus has been every year. And so our fund balance as of 6/30/25 was 3.6 million, and we always say that we need to keep funds in reserve for the first quarter of the year when we receive the tax revenues, and that's about 1.3 million that we need to keep in reserve. So we still have 2.3 million available for to support the budget, to pay for some modest projects that we're working on, you know, including the boiler and, the Borthwick property. I think as we go forward, we'll have to think about what we can do, without, you know, totally wiping out the fund balance, because we don't want to do that.
And the reason for that is twofold. One is because the budget's an estimate. So as we just discussed, when we go forward, sometimes the expenditures, but also because you've done a great job managing our money in a time when we're looking for maximum interest and interest in return on those funds.
Right, thank you, thank you. That's another thing, you know, budgeting for, interest income. You know, you need a crystal ball for that as well. If something significant happens to the markets over next year and interest takes a dive, you know, we won't have that revenue to rely on. So that's, it always makes me, that's one thing that keeps me up at night. More so than the health insurance.
Interesting, okay.
So now I did have one question, Sherry. It says a budgeted withdrawal of 225. I could have sworn on the other page we were
Oh, I might have. No, it is 225.
on the other page. I thought it said 25,000.
200
Is it from the? Oh, I was
That's
looking at the
contingent,
contingency.
yeah.
My mistake.
Yep,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
right.
Thank you very, very much for your hard work on this
You're
and for fielding all of our questions.
Oh, it's totally fine. Happy to do it.
Okay. We're ready for the
Personnel report, okay, I have been coached and ready. You have gotten used to seeing non-interesting personnel reports lately. So at last month, we had retirement and a resignation, and those two positions were approved to fill. So we filled them internally with two folks, one of whom was interested in moving to a full-time position from a part-time position, and another person who was interested in a schedule change, liked the hours of that other position more than the hours of their current part-time position. So those two changes have been made. So those are two of the people. When those two part-time people left their positions for these other two positions, now those two positions are, you'll see here, that those are these two right here at the top. That's the this person went to fill a full-time job, and this person took the hours of this other part-time person. So it leaves me with those two positions. And then we had another retirement here of a part-time person. And then this is the we have a page position that is likely to be open when one of these up here, if you approve this tonight, we'll be moving. One of our pages has applied and been interviewed and is conditionally accepted upon board approval to move into one of the part-time positions. And then I'll have that page position to fill. So that's what you're seeing in front of you. There's a lot of shell game movement, but there do end up, there's 3 people left employment at the library through retirement and resignation. And so there's 3 roles that are open to fill on the circulation desk and seeking approval for those 3 part-time positions and that page.
I move that we approve filling the positions.
Second. All those in favor? The motion passes. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for bearing with me through that because it is complicated because, you know, the folks who are currently here get first dibs on a different schedule, right? So that if they've been waiting and they like the hours of a different position, then there's always a lot of movement around.
I feel like we've had much more complicated personnel.
There have been much more complicated, but it's just, we've had
We haven't.
almost
had it
no
for a while.
movement in months. And so I just wanted to. So,
Director's report, Jeff.
all right, here we go.
It's been cold.
It has been, so first thing I have been asked a few times as we're talking about building project and we're talking about the Borthwick property. You know, the question comes up, have we had the Borthwick house assessed by an architect? And we have all the way back to the Butler Road Maze 2020 master planning survey. And I just wanted to put the quote from that back in here, so I have it officially and out here in the public. It's been in the public a couple times, but I wanted to mention it here. I'm not going to read it, but it is available for you, and I can quote that and send it off to anybody. So that's there. The next thing is boiler replacement. We'll talk about that as we go down a little bit, and I'll try to explain in words what I wrote out here, if there's any confusion about that. But as of right now, the actual boiler replacement has not started. Well, I'm gonna talk about the boiler later, so shut up about the boiler. Jeff, I got it. Okay, sorry, it's hard for me not to talk about it. It's right there. But we'll talk about it later. We have an agenda item. So circ report just a little bit. I'll talk about digital circulation because it's on my mind a lot lately. You know, back in 2016 to 2019, our digital circulation was 10 to 15% of our overall circulation. And now we are routinely, last month it was 37%. So we're, you know, above a third. I was here when we were so excited that it was 5% of our circulation. That seemed amazing. But, you know, here we are, it's a full third of our circulation and more. So the, you know, physical circulation has rebounded from the pandemic, obviously when it was 0 for a couple months, but you know, we are circulating more now digitally than we did at the height of the pandemic when there was no physical circulation at all. So more digital checkouts today, last month, than at any time during the pandemic, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
That's how much demand for those materials continues to go up.
And is digital material just the e-readers?
No, that's the thing. So when we talk about digital materials, when we talk about the digital collection, it is an amalgamation of reading, so ebooks, which you read with your eyes, audiobooks, downloadable audiobooks that people listen to, you know, as opposed to the physical circulation includes the CD audiobooks. So it's the downloadable or streamable audiobooks. Downloadable video through Canopy and Hoopla, which are 2 of our services. We have some video. It's not as much because we can't get the popular movies that people really might want on Disney Plus or Netflix or something. There's no library equivalent of that, but we do a decent business in video circulation through those 2 services. And now increasingly, what I'm going to call electronic periodicals. So both magazines and newspapers, the circulation of those things online, which are, you know, if you're looking for the collections that have been so firmly adopted in e-book circulation, actual reading, that number is stabilizing. So it's another, ebooks are just another format. So I've got trade paperbacks, hardcovers, and ebooks. That number is about 20% of that. But for audiobooks, downloadable audiobooks, like the tribe has spoken. That is going wildly towards downloadables. The CD audiobooks are just continue to decrease in popularity, and I know this based on, the availability of CD players in cars as they drop. And then the magazines and newspapers have been very, very much accepted by a large part of the public. They prefer, not everybody, not exclusively, but our public prefers those formats for reading magazines and newspapers. So it's interesting for me because it was, so long. It was when I got started, we didn't have this at all. So this is when I started in libraries, but now it's become such an important part of what we do. It continues to increase. So that's kind of amazing. I just wanted to mention that.
I did see that the Discman is making a comeback, so you never know. And I still have mine. Never
Very
mind.
You didn't realize it was the trendsetter. The CDs are going to be the next vinyl, right? Where it's going to come back and be a thing. So
Sets are back too.
yeah, great. HVACs, is that next?
No, I think those were a bit of a thing, but
We could go to reel. No, we can go there. All right. Anyway, and then this is just total circulation, taking that out, at 100%, right? So circulation goes up and down every month, but this is a percentage. So this is just the whole graph is 100%. This is just the ratio of digital, physical up here in blue, digital down here in yellow. Everybody can identify the pandemic. There it is when our circulation went to 100% digital. But what I'm talking about is that the pandemic, from this perspective of circulation, is just a blip. It was an anomaly because now we're right back on the same line we were on pre-pandemic. for the increases in digital circulation, there's the line. It's the trend line is just right there. It's super easy and it's very consistent. So it will be interesting to watch over the next 5 and 10 years as that number. I'm imagining physical circulation and digital circulation will continue to head towards each other. And at some point, there will be some version of us sitting here talking about 50%, and then where we have more circulation digital than physical. You know, that's coming, right? So
I would be interested in parsing out the periodical digital cert, because I'm getting Canada skiing and I'm just getting it. I mean, I looked for it, I accidentally downloaded it,
right.
and now every month it dumps into my box, but I don't actually read it. So to me, that the periodical numbers are a little bit soft. So I would just be interested to see that.
We got it. We've got it all.
I'm sure you do. It's not urgent, and it's not urgent, but I just, I don't know if there's other aspects of that you would think are, your error margin that might be more soft.
Well, the newspaper retrievals is a good hard number because people have to go to both the New York Times and the Times Union and the Wall Street Journal and get their code or access that and download those or read it, stream, whatever you want to call it. The periodical number, yes, it's weird. I think it's certainly increased access to magazines way beyond when there was just, sitting in a room back there. More people have access to them, whether they read them or not. There it is. And I think the number that I take some comfort in being a librarian, that's not fair. Being me, I take some comfort in the fact that the reading, when I talk about reading with your eyes, is stabilizing at about that 20%. So the ebooks is just another format that we have to deal with. The dramatic increases in reading were in the past, and now it's stabilized at about that 20% of total book checkout. So if you're checking out a physical hardcover or paperback book and comparing that to digital, that's actually one of the lowest numbers. So 4 times more people read in a book than are reading in our e-content.
Okay,
Now, if I had more money to put into e-content, would that number stay there? I don't know. It's all about availability.
I think your general point is well, again.
But some of these other formats like audiobooks, like we're not to the point where I'm ready to say we're going to abandon CD audiobooks as a format, but there are libraries in our system that have completely cut off CD. They said we can't afford the space for them anymore. We're not putting any more money into it. We can see where this is going, and they just dump the format. So we tend to not be a library that does that. We hang on to our formats for a little longer. We don't want to disenfranchise any users that aren't ready to move to digital, but for audiobooks. And then overall, I got to stop talking about this. Overall, the amount of audiobook listening continues to increase as a way of consuming books, if that makes sense. So that is an actual shift where more and more people are listening to books than reading them with their eyes. I'm not gonna make a value judgment about that. I'm just saying that it's a different function, and the percentages are wildly different.
So if I get an email every time the New Yorker is available.
Yeah.
Sometimes I click on it, sometimes I don't. So when I click on it, that counts.
When you click on it, it counts.
It's not the email.
I'll check with Upper Hudson to be sure about what they count, but I think it's the click. And Phil is giving me a nod. Yes, when you click on it and look at it, then
It counts, but if I just like, I don't have time, whatever.
we'll confirm that just because the system isn't under our control, it's through the consortium, and we'll check on it and I'll get you.
And in terms of the collection, do we lose books? Not ebooks. So if you buy Gone with the Wind and it's bought through whatever the publisher is, do we only have it for a certain period of time? Or are the books going into Upper Hudson generally permanent acquisitions?
Okay, well,
Or some are and some aren't.
some are. It's complicated, and first of all, the nothing's permanent acquisition. That's the thing. I mean, even a physical book, but the older a title is, the less popular a title is, the more likely we are to be able to buy a license that would be, I would call it a in perpetuity license. All right, so some publishers have those, and when they're, why not? If there's no more money to gain from it, why would they do that? Whereas something is popular, they might sell it to us or license it to us for a fixed number of checkouts or a fixed period of time. We have, different publishers have different deals. And so we can't dictate that to them. We have to buy it as it's available to us. So
Daniel Silva might be there, but it might not be there if it's not the newest one.
correct.
If it's in the middle of his 14 books or.
But as they get older, and even if they continue to license it to us just for a certain number of checkouts or a number of years, they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Typically, the older they get, right? So obviously, the most expensive things are going to be the things that are new and hot and popular. And that's, also what our patrons want. And so that's why ebooks are a challenge to collect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, they're licensed. First of all, just anything you license, you don't own, right? We buy a license. We don't. It's not owned by the library. Whereas a book, I own the book. The library owns it. You're right. I mean, there's a difference. Sorry, didn't mean to belabor this point, but it's important. We need to talk about it.
So I needed some happiness.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I watched Cool Runnings the other night because it's a very happy movie and I hadn't seen it in a really long time. I just checked and it's here, but I have to say my first inclination was to see where I could stream it. And that's exactly to the point that you're trying to make when you talk about the circulation. And I recommend it as a happy movie for anyone who hasn't seen it for a long time.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think it's definitely convenient. Streaming is definitely convenient, and we are in a highly connected community. So we have a community that would prefer it to stream. It's available, but many things are not. So DVDs are still here. Okay. Moving on, lots of great programs in both the children's program. We'll continue to hit the early literacy programs like the Bell. We keep expanding our selection of these, and the attendance at these continues to increase, which I'm very pleased about. The Saturday story time has developed an audience, and we have struggled at various times in the past to get an audience for that, but having done it for a while now, we're getting consistent attendance at the Saturday story time, as well as the PJ story time, where we're doing some things in the evening. Gail, to your point about, we have two parents, right? So we're bringing in more of these programs for, early literacy programs. And I think it's great. That's one of our core functions, and I'm very happy to see that. Glow light parties and curiosity clubs and all kinds of good stuff. So feel free to read all about these in a little bit more detail. As far as adult services are concerned about, they had a very, very busy high school midterm exam. Felt like 2018, if that makes any sense. It felt probably really, really just like before the pandemic. So we were incredibly busy, lots of teens in here studying for their midterms. The study rooms had big long lines, waiting to get into the study rooms. Every horizontal surface in the library was taken with kids studying individually with tutors, in groups by themselves. So it's good to see. We opened up this room and the community room as we can to make them available for study times. And based on the popularity for the midterms, we're going to expand how much time we have this room and the community room available for study hall in the library, both at AP exam time and at final exam time come the summer. So that's nice to see. It's just nice to see the use. New public catalog is launched. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. So I do
have some issues with that the
Yeah,
other day.
you're not the only one. So we have had some complaints about the new public catalog, which, as you know, is purchased by our consortium. They did not have a choice. The vendor that they have, it wasn't like they could say, do you want to go with this new catalog or keep your old catalog? The old catalog was at end of life, and they said, oh, here you go. This is your new choice. So we have Vega. There is no choice. We don't have a choice. The consortium didn't have a choice. So we are working to continue to customize that. And some of the wrinkles should have been worked out by now. I hope if you lost access in your app over the weekend, that wasn't a surprise. Or sorry, it was a surprise to everybody, but they knew it was happening, and that's been now remedied. So that basically the app was driven by the old catalog. So when we turned off the old catalog, the new catalog has to come underneath that app, which it can, but it had to be made to do that. So.
Yeah, I just went old school and used the telephone.
And that's fine, because you know, we have our staff size catalog continue to work because this is the public access catalog that drives both the app and the website. So working out some of the bugs on that. But I do think it's important to mention when we launch a new product and it's not popular. Some of it is just people have it's intuitive. When I hear someone say it's intuitive, I'm like, it's familiar. You were happy with the one that existed. The new one isn't familiar. So there's always some of those type of complaints, but when I hear about slowness and I hear it enough that there's some systemic issues, I reported those to the system and see what we can do with that. Okay, catalog, enough about that. So moving on about some great programs, some book programs. This competitive puzzling program continues to be very popular. Day books, the drop-in tech help. So we're looking at how we provide tech help. Some people are comfortable coming to the desk. They ask their tech question that can be answered relatively simply at the desk. That will continue to be, but we also are finding some people who want a more formalized scheduled time, either one-on-one with a librarian or in small groups. So we're going to continue to offer these types of programs going forward because a major part of what we do is helping people with both our technology, like the catalog, and also their own technology, so we make sure that we have that. So expect that to continue. Dungeons and Dragons, the conversation clubs are very important, popular, and inclusive gaming. And then we started a Mahjong program, super popular. We had to have an overflow room. So both the community room and the boardroom were taken by that. So that's interesting. And then some outreach, the Winter Carnival, even though it was super cold, we'll have the Winter Carnival. And then a little bit of senior outreach at the Spinney, which was nice as well. Robert. I want to tell you briefly about some planned changes to the physical layout in the children's place. Obviously there were major changes that were planned as part of the renovation project, but we still need to recognize changing use patterns in the children's space, and we're going to do what we can inside with what we've got. So we're going to be moving some of the shelves around, increasing some of the open space up near the windows, moving the picture books closer to the children's desk, and then adding some furniture for kids. Put this picture in here. This one's already on the way, but everything has a super long lead time. So I will blow the secret right here with sort of a truck that has integrated shelving, and we'll be shelving the transportation books on the truck shelving unit, so kids can engage in imaginative play and also engage with things. So that's some other some chair changes over there, and then further changes in there. We're going to be looking at reading some of the nonfiction collection, and then moving some shelves around depending on the makeup of that, trying to clear up some more space study. And then I am looking at parsing the studio back into two spaces. Originally, in the design of the building, this room next to us was two separate spaces. It was a front room, and then the back room was storage for both, for the community room, basically, but also for this room. That's the door that's sort of right there in the corner, bumps into that space. And we'd like to claw some of that storage back and get some of the chair racks and table racks out of the community room, which would mean more space for human beings and more spaces for programs when we do programs in the community room. The piano is what it is. The piano is the size that it is. I really don't have any place to put the piano. Except for with great human effort to get it into that little storage area, which we can do in an emergency. But anyway, being able to remove some of that, the racks out of there would be great. So that's a relatively minor, it's not really construction, but a relatively minor project that as well.
Yes, I'm staring.
Yes.
And, is that space available? Like, could you put locked cabinets or something up there for storage? Just curious.
Like just behind us?
Or just, no, right, like isn't that like a shelf?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you could. I mean, I can't get the chair racks up there, but
No, not for the community room.
just some
I was
storage.
just thinking
yes.
like, as thinking about the Friends need, not that that's enough, but as you do like a different kind of shell game, right? It's the storage shell game. It just seems like a empty space.
It's probably for top hats.
Yeah, where are you gonna? My time.
I don't know, this was in my house. I would be using the space, all kinds of cabinets, but anyway,
Yes.
just one thing.
You got it. And then continuing education and committee work is here. Of particular note was the summer reading workshop. So we're getting ready. Unearth a Story is the summer reading club theme for this summer. Lots of fun programs in the 3-system workshop that was held at the excuse me, Schenectady County Public Library, and a couple of our librarians would attend that, and they found it very, very helpful. And Christine presented there on summer reading programs. So along with Mary Fellows from it's all on there now. And I do want to just mention quickly as we go down into my statistical report, circulation basically unchanged, a little bit down, but here. Talk about public use of meeting rooms and then staff use and library programs. So these two numbers, this number right here, the public use of meeting rooms. As I increase the number of early literacy programs, I am taking the space of the community room to do that. And that makes that space less available for the community to book meetings in there, particularly in the mornings, but also on Saturdays and some evenings when we do those programs. So I just want you to know that that's a thing that's happening. You're going to see that expressed in the numbers, because as we take that space and we do what I think is very important library work in there, that is just a thing that is our job. So I just wanted to mention that. Other than that, nothing particularly remarkable in the numbers. This month, door count similar, down a little bit, circulation down a little bit. We were closed a couple of days because of the snowpocalypse. And then, but e-use, you can see ebook use here. Sort of Gail's point, e-book use was actually down from last year, but e-audiobook use is up significantly, and e-periodical use totally a lot. And that's both magazines and newspapers, as well as streaming videos effectively flat. Okay. Questions about that?
Thank you. Okay, Mark. Anything to report from you,
Nope,
Alice?
the report meeting is coming up, so I don't have anything.
I'll say we did have, well, group is under UHLS. They did participate, Upper Hudson did participate in Library Advocacy Day at the state capitol last week. A number of people from Bethlehem participated. It's always a great day to see librarians from across the state to chat with our representatives and advocate for library funding and other issues. Okay, Jill.
Like Mark, the Friends meeting is next Monday, which I'll be attending with my friends over there.
Great, thank you. Okay. I don't think we have any new business listed. I'll just throw in kind of tagging on Jeff's conversation about changing trends, I should just say, in circulation. The Long Range Planning Committee met last week. Our current long range plan is extended through the end of 2026. So we targeted to have the board of new plan to consider by this fall. We will likely have another meeting after we pass the budget and can take into a number of things into account. Is there any other new business? Okay, then on to old business. Okay, the first one on here is our Borthwick property process discussion. We committed, I believe, at the end of the last meeting, that we will vote on this meeting on what our plans are for the Borthwick property once it is taken down, or at least rough plans for the Borthwick property, and that will be what is presented to the public at a public information session at the end of March. So we left our last discussion where everyone brought forth ideas. And it was narrowed down to basically 5 things that that Jeff and the staff looked into a number of questions and got extra information about. So the first one was gardens. Generally speaking, a number of different types of gardens were proposed. So some form of a garden on the Borthwick property. The second use that made it to the list that was up for consideration was what I'm calling Zen/shade/reading/flex space. So basically open space that you can use in a number of different ways, including for reading. Another item on the list was to simply hold the space for future use, i.e. do nothing or do something that can be very easily removed. And then we have updates on the last two. So one of the proposals that was up for discussion was a food fridge. At a request, Jeff looked into additional information about that and had additional conversations with the town. And what we found out is that the town's food pantry and distribution of items is undergoing a conversion. They're changing things and there's discussions ongoing, and that this may not be the best time for the library to take on a food fridge because we don't know exactly what the need will be at this time. There is a possibility that the town will be able to meet that need, the need for refrigeration and fresh food in a different way. So that was Laura's suggestion, along with sort of some tagging ideas from Jill. I had updated Laura on this, and please correct me if I'm saying anything out of turn, but we were, in light of that discussion and that it might not be the best fit at this moment, although it could be in the future, we discussed taking this off the list of consideration of items for the property use at this time. Does anyone have any significant objections to that? Okay, and then the last one is a use for the Friends, namely book storage. But as we heard at public participation today, the Friends are a lot of what they would like to see and how that would happen and how they would participate in that is still something that is very much up for discussion. So it seems like that may be best to reserve that idea at this time. We don't have to take any, we couldn't take any action on it without the Friends' input. So it is not something that we could vote on to move forward with or not move forward with today. So that really leaves us with three things.
Well, before we
Sorry, go ahead.
completely leave the friend storage in the dust. I'm just wondering, could we still consider electrified storage space that could be used by the library? It doesn't necessarily have to be a friend's use, but at least to have that structure with electricity going to it.
You took the words kind of out of my mouth. So the last, we have three things to consider, and in light of those three things, we also have a proposal from CS Arch that gives us a cost to kind of plan the taking down the building. And we say plan because there will have to be some remediation work related to asbestos, and plan things like what do we want to retain. And one of the things that is considered in their plan is that we can retain electricity in that area. So that, with that in mind, that allows us to kind of reserve the idea of a structure of some kind potentially, of either for us or for the Friends, that electricity will be there. We have the opportunity to maintain electricity there.
And water, it says also.
Yes,
I think you guys are reading the proposal a little bit optimistic. It says electricity may be easier to provide than water.
yes, certainly
Which is
easier.
good, but that doesn't say we're gonna do it.
No, it doesn't say we're gonna do it.
You know,
It is possible, but we
Yeah.
should say it is not impossible. But, so we then have three things on the table. Which is for use of the Borthwick property, which is gardens of some kind. Again, that flex space that could be used for reading, could be used for benches, could be used for shade, could be used for programming. And then the third one is to simply do nothing or do minimal things and hold the space for future use. So do we want to look at the proposal and then consider those three things? Or how would you like to have a discussion that ends in how we would like to move forward?
I guess I'm still hesitating on saying there's only three things to vote on. Because
Okay.
even though we discussed the Friends and storage space for the Friends, I still think if the Friends aren't sure what they need yet, the storage space is still a necessity for the library, especially since how we have no building project. So I mean, I guess I'm kind of thinking there might still be four on the table.
You know what, I think you're right, and I think I should add more nuance to that. There are three things that I think that we can vote to move forward on. To actively do something toward. I agree that I think that the Friends structure or doing something with the Friends falls into a different category of we can reserve that. We can reserve the opportunity to do that at a later date or upon further discussion with the Friends.
Well, can I ask a question? I mean, so we are theoretically having a public opportunity for the public to learn more about the plans, the different options. We're down to so few things that it's like I want to also talk about like, well, what are we asking? Like what's I'm thinking like ahead to like what's that look like? But also, do we need to vote tonight on like, yes, we're gonna do these two things, or since we have something still in flux and it sounds like the Friends were gonna talk about it at their next board meeting, could we have a general concept of these things that we like, and then figure out like what's the best use of our time in a public session, and what would we want to share with the public? What input or feedback do we want to get from them? So anyway, I'm thinking out loud a little bit.
No, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, and I think that this goes to a point that Michelle has made in previous meetings, is that, and I think our discussion process has allowed us very nicely to whinny to this point, to kind of narrow ourselves, which is that I think when we had all of the ideas on the table many meetings ago, there was the idea that we would bring a plethora of ideas to the public and say,
Like help us
help us prioritize these. At this juncture, we as a board have narrowed our ideas, and within the last month, Jeff has spoken with the staff about what their ideas were, what they hope to see in that space, and their ideas were very in line with what the board had put forth. So kind of to your point now, Laura, and to what you have said before, Michelle, is that do we go into this public session and say, public, this is what we would like to do with this. This is what the board has voted to do with this property. We could do more things like something for the Friends, or potentially something else in the future, but these are the things that we would like to move forward, that we, the board, are moving forward with. And then have the public kind of weigh in on some of the details of that. Like if we're going to do a garden, we can ask the public what types of gardens do you want to see, or something along the lines of voting for what will be for the first season of this, what garden does the public want to see, what type of a garden. So I think that that's the point you're getting to, which is how we present this information at the public meeting. And I think that we're getting to a point where we're not saying, hey, public, these are our ideas, let us know what you think we should do. We're going to say, this is what we are going to do. We would like your input on some of the details of that.
So I was the do nothing person, but I think that the do nothing, my idea of having it being able to be easily changed probably goes with the garden. I'm happy to meld that into the garden option. What I heard Michelle say though was not, excuse me, with respect to the Friends, storage for the Friends, but you were talking about storage for the library.
Just now tonight.
Just now tonight, you were talking about.
Yeah,
storage.
if the Friends don't have a need for it, I think the library needs storage. Well, who doesn't need an extra closet?
So an example would be, suppose children's people wanted to have a summer sensory garden where stuff would have to be brought in the winter time, but there would be various kinds of paraphernalia that they would be bringing out to go into the vat for a sensory area during the spring, summer, fall. So that's just, you know, an out of the box example, but what I heard you say was not for the Friends, but for the library to have storage.
If the
If
friends don't
the
want it.
Friends don't want it.
I'm guessing that might.
But that could be added on later. I mean, we could vote on something that we could for.
I personally think there's room for storage in a garden.
Yeah.
Would we want, I mean, would we want to leave it open to at least allow for the public to say, well, hey, you know, you didn't think about this? Like some, not a crazy idea.
It's not a public vote on a build. Right, it's not, that's not what it is, it's this library property that.
Right, but just. I'm just asking, is there an opportunity, do we want to allow for that opportunity, or we just wanna say, like, you can help like with the finishes?
I think that's the discussion that we want to have tonight.
Can I say, it feels like one of the things we should do before we start talking about these more detailed things is decide the nothing versus the something. So can we sort of have a straw poll and say,
Meaning, you think that one of the things we should vote on is reserving the space and doing nothing?
yeah,
And decide if that is on the table?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I would vote that I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah.
But I've heard other people say like, maybe we should wait and do nothing and see, you know, so I don't wanna presume that everyone's with me. I would like to do something.
would others like to weigh in on that?
I would like to do something. I think the ideas we've discussed, and I love some of the staff ideas and kind of want to talk about a little bit, but I don't think any of them. They feel like if a future opportunity need arose, you know, they're still, you know, we could change it, you know, I mean, there's some of them have, some of the ideas have a little bit more structure to it, but yet it's not a building. So I would like to, I love some of these ideas that the staff provide. I could totally see a garden area and a programming flex public space, but that none of that precludes us from down the line saying we have to create a new entrance over here or something like that. So
That, and maybe, I'm glad you're saying that, because that was one of the preconditions of the discussion, was that this needs to not be. Anything that we're talking about is modestly priced. So that, because ideas multiply, right? Especially when we get excited about this, the staff, we get excited about stuff. So we're talking about something that's modest in nature and undoable, right? So and so that
I
was.
didn't say that exactly, but yes.
That's okay. It all had to come as part of the preconditions of what we were talking about. So I think that's exactly right. I mean, so some of what you're saying is exactly those things. And it did settle down to strongly like a shading sitting area, which could be as simple as some picnic benches with umbrellas over there, right? To something like the sails that we put out for shade, some of the shade sails, to some kind of structure. So there's a lot of options in there, but I think that was wildly popular. And then you know, green space, and I don't see the garden, like a formal garden, as necessarily it's not an antagonist of the reading area, right? Those two things can be the same thing. It's just, I think people strongly feeling that some kind of natural space with integrated seating, it's going to get used just like the rest of our library property gets used. And that's what we were basing our discussions, I think, is a lot about like how does the green get used? How does the island get used and all of that stuff. So I'm glad you saw that, because that was.
And I
what they were
love
doing.
the tree.
Yeah, the platform.
The surface.
Yeah.
I really.
Yeah, and just to remember that the end goal here is that when we take down the building, which will hopefully possibly be this summer, is that when we take down,
Maybe we should call it the house,
The
as
house.
opposed to the building. I don't-
yes, sorry, when we take down the house, is that if you are standing on Borthwick on that day and you see that house being demolished, you as a member of the public have some idea of what that is going to become. That is the end goal of this process. It is not to have anything set in stone. It is to have the idea that this is what is going to happen. Potentially as soon as this, potentially a pilot portion of this, as soon as this fall, but more likely heading into the winter and spring. So I think there's a two-pronged discussion, which is what Laura just pointed out is are we telling the public that we are doing specific things? And if so, what are those things? Or are we still asking the public based on this small list to say that they prefer one thing over another?
I want to say prefer something. I don't know. I really am keen on figuring out, you know, how to, again, engage the public, have them feel some sense of belonging, you know, with what we do, rather than just telling them what we do, even though, of course, that is our prerogative. But I also, we've also narrowed the choice so much that, I don't know, so maybe it's just as simple as we put up like a vision, you know, vision boards and get, you know, like which of, like, you know, like Ashley McGraw had done with, you know, which pictures resonate more with you. It's not necessarily like, okay, this thing got 10 votes and so that's what we're going with, but you know, it'd be nice to figure out a way to get some sense from the public and get them part of the process a little.
I think that the idea is that after this meeting, we decide what to move forward with, is that between this meeting and the next meeting in March, which is March 9th, the communications committee will meet and work out some of those details as to what is going to be included in that, what should be included in that end of March public meeting to bring to the board and discuss at our March 9th meeting. And I think that there's, you know, two ways that we can proceed here. We can say, okay, public, these are the options that we have come up with. You know, give us your input on those, or we can say, we as a board would like to do these 3 things, these 4 things, whatever it is on the property. We are going to be asking your input on what types of gardens you like. We're going to be asking your input on what you want to see in a Zen space. We can be asked things like, do you want to have do you want to have a permanent type of garden, the same type of garden every year? Or do you want to vote on a new garden every year? Or do you want to vote on a different type of garden every season? You know, what kind of programs would you like to see in that? So the public, you used the term finishes earlier. I think that more we can work with the public on the specifics of how these things come to fruition, but also how they exist in perpetuity. However long that prolong it is. You can do we want to annually change things? Do we want to quarterly change things? Things like that. There's constant opportunity for ongoing input.
At the risk of saying something controversial, I'm going to do it. We're elected to represent the public.
Yep.
We all ran for office. When we got a big lesson in the last couple of years about the public, right? 100% of people didn't vote for didn't show up to vote. We had a strong turnout. It wasn't everyone, right? And basically they said, we don't want to spend the money to do the building. Totally understand. It's a lead or follow thing here. When you get elected, you have to be in tune with the public, with your constituents, but you're also elected to lead. So I'm more of like, let's tell them what we're gonna do, and then say, within this framework, do you have any ideas or any things that you would like to do? Because I don't think we're ever gonna get the public to show up on one night to come here. And I think there's a lot of different ways they can get in touch with all of us. We've been constantly doing that. So I'm more of like, let's take the building down, we voted to take the building down, let's have, I'll plant the board plan. And then we talk to the public about, within this plan, can you talk to us about some ideas you have?
Very well put.
That's right.
I think we're
Yeah.
saying the same thing, which is like, this is what we wanna do, but like, some way to get. It's not, to me, I guess it's, I wanna bring people along with us, right? So I'm
Right.
not saying we follow people, the public. But how can we bring them along with us so that they are as excited about it as we are?
I feel like we present the plan, like.
Right.
This is sort of basically how it's gonna look. There's gonna be some benches here and some gardening areas here. And then your choices are, do you want round benches, triangular benches?
Yeah.
Whatever, and do you want a pollinator garden, a poison garden, or a vegetable garden? Like, give us some of the detail, you know, but like, I think.
We don't do that with library program, for example.
Right.
We don't say.
Right, and I think that's maybe a little too much in the weeds, like you choose what kind of garden we're gonna. Let the staff choose what kind of garden we.
They're garden
But-
experts.
Really like Jeff's wording, which was basically natural space with seating. So, hey, public, we're gonna do natural space with seating. What would you like to see? And the idea of a vision board, and let people write what they wanna see or put up a picture or, and then, you know, at the end of whatever that process is. We'll decide what to do.
And while we don't let the public decide our programming, we do certainly solicit their suggestions on it.
So here's my question.
Right.
We
And it's
have a
always up.
vision board. I mean, I tend to go with what Mark said. We have our vision board. We get our feedback from our community and our residents. And some of them don't get what they want. And so that, to me, that takes us into a place where we have to be really careful, because I'm expecting, even though the architects recommended that this building be taken down, and we know it needs to be taken down, that piece of it alone is going to get a huge pushback from some people in our community. So then we have a group of people who feel really strongly that we have to have the tree, that picture of the tree thing. But guess what? For whatever reason, we choose not to do that. So then how do we move forward through that? I'm not saying we shouldn't, I'm just
Yeah.
posing a consequence of having all these people make suggestions. If we're not going with the people who vote the most, then how do we move through that piece of it?
Jill's been trying to make a point.
Yes, I know, I gotta jump in. I just think if we have several vision boards. Not unlike some of the photos we saw last week, some of the ones that were in here, which. So it's like, oh my God. If we have like we're gonna do some gardening, some space for either staff programs or relaxation spaces. Some will be covered in some way for shade. I also think rain protection is important, so I need more coverage, it's my opinion, but and then we have some beautiful pictures. People are gonna have ideas. I like that. Oh, I went to a library once that had this or that. What if we did it this way? Almost just sort of take what comes as opposed to asking specific questions. Do you want this kind of garden or this kind of garden? People are gonna, anyone who comes to that meeting is gonna look at stuff and realize, oh, that's cool. Oh, what if we could do this? What if we could do that? So a way to record those kind of responses, whether it's written or just us walking around asking people, I don't know, but I don't know about asking different kinds of gardening questions.
Yeah.
Go, personally.
I guess the point I was trying to make is I think we need to make the decision for the most part, and then just like we can ask for some feedback, however we do that.
I think showing the pictures would show like, we have this basic idea, right? Garden, quiet area, project area, whatever you want to call it. Here's some ways it might look that we've stolen from other places that have done these things. But we don't have a set, by just making it clear that we are not set, like we're absolutely gonna do the labyrinth gardening and have this kind of facility over here. It's more like the garden might look like this, or this, and the pavilions might look like this. These, we're still brainstorming ideas. Help us brainstorm.
Yeah, I think that's a good phrase, to help us brainstorm. And Gail, just to your point that you made, that some people are not going to be happy with the idea to take down the building. I agree with that, but I will also say that we have discussed this issue at length at these meetings for, I believe, every meeting of the last 6 months. So, public, weigh in.
I'm not into that. Yes, I know that, so I'm not saying we should not do it. I'm just saying I don't want people to give us their opinion with an expectation.
Yes. And we can always
So suggest that they're gonna do what they suggest to us.
Right.
And no, like, there's no voting, there's no voting taking place, it's a informal, more of like an informal.
Brainstorming session.
So it sounds like we're moving toward potentially taking a vote here. For general ideas of what we are going to move forward with. And then presenting those at a public meeting and asking the public to help us and the staff, who will have to execute all of this, brainstorm about how to bring those ideas into being. Does that sound like where this conversation is headed?
I still don't see the vote, like, it's all garden,
No, yeah, I think.
it's all garden.
I think that's exactly where we're headed, is that we are voting, we have already voted to take down the building. We are now voting to commit to certain things that we are going to do in conjunction with the staff, with the property.
And there would, now that I think about it too, that we're using that house for storage.
Yeah.
You have to have storage, you have to.
So are you proposing that we put storage on the idea of things that,
Well, yes, I guess, as I was saying earlier, I didn't think storage for the Friends should come off. And I assume storage for the Friends could have been large enough to maybe include storage for the library.
we can certainly expand that. Because the storage for the Friends is storage for the library. Okay.
So I guess I don't think we should take storage off the vote. Or that the vote, I don't know, I guess I liked Jeff's wording, which was natural space with subseating, I would add, and storage.
Okay, so logistically, how do we want to move forward with this? I think we have, to Michelle's point, we have 4 things now on the list. We have, how did we phrase it? Natural space with seating, AKA gardens. We have what I'll call generally flex space, reading space, shade space, program space. We have do nothing with the space, and we have storage.
Oh, wait, can I back up? Because Gail said she was the one that suggested the do nothing and that she was kind of pulling that suggestion back, that the garden was
Well, my thing is
equivalent
to
to
be
that.
able to be flexible.
Changed in the future.
Because we are looking at the larger building, and of course, I have my fingers, I see it building that the handicap accessed. So certainly I don't have a problem with the body, but I would like it to be something that's as we look at the larger building needs, that we're not talking about ripping down new permanent structures,
Right.
although a storage area may be something that we would need to consider. So that's why I said I could go with the garden.
Well, and then Jill said she felt like we needed to make a decision about that aspect of it a minute ago, and then we didn't make a decision. Am I right?
Well, it's just that one of the options is nothing, reserved space for later use, so I guess I was going back to when we were talking about just taking the house down, and we're gonna have the grass field. Besides,
How about if we do this? I think we're down to those, despite kind of points, I think we still kind of have 4 options. Why don't we do this? If no one objects, we do a straw poll for each one. Raise of hands. I'll just say gardens, everyone who's in favor of moving forward with gardens, And the majority, we'll put that on a list. And then everything that has a majority at the end, if someone would like to make a motion, that those are the things that we would present to the public at the meeting. And then ask the public to brainstorm with us some of the details of that to be worked out at the communications committee, who would then bring those ideas to the board at the March board meeting. Does all of that make sense? Anyone object to that process?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But why would that go back to the communications committee? Wouldn't it go back to like a building committee or something like that?
No, how to, that's my fault.
How to frame the.
How to frame
Oh,
the
okay.
public meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
my bad. Okay, who would like to move ahead, a show of hands, who would like to move ahead with? What do we phrase it? Natural space with seating?
And stored.
We'll do that, it'll be a different bullet.
Oh, okay.
Who would like to move ahead with natural space with seating, sorry, AKA gardens? Okay, gardens goes on the list, and natural space seating.
Is
So
there
many
seating,
words.
is there seating in the second category?
Yes.
I guess,
It could be,
well, these,
let's,
ideally they move together.
okay,
Do nothing, had seating, I mean.
let's,
Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I think of that one as primarily garden.
got it, garden, okay. Let's do, the second is who would like to move forward with a flex space that could be used for reading, programming, or simply being?
And I'm confused. How is a flex space not a natural space with seating?
Yeah,
I mean, I think if you look at some of the staff photo, like, I think of it more, like, if you've gone to Five Rivers. They have like, you know, amphitheater kind of seating where it's very much in the natural environment, but they do programming there.
I'm gonna admit something really embarrassing. I thought you were saying seating with a D, not seating with a T. So I thought you were just talking about gardens. Broadly.
That's right.
That is a
That's why I
failure
was
of
a little
communication.
confused, like.
I understand now why. That is on me. I thought you, so, okay, so gardens is a category. We're gonna go back. Gardens, who would like to move forward with gardens? 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, gardens is on the list. My apologies, Michelle. Okay, who would like to move forward with? This is what I'm gonna call flex space.
That would include seating.
That could include seating.
The garden, they all might have seating.
seating, I agree.
So flex space in my mind means grassy knoll or whatever, grass field. That the staff then can do programming in, or we can bring some too.
I think it's more of
Doesn't
like
need to
some
be
of
grassy.
these things that the staff.
Right, so that's like, what is it for you then?
To me, like
Okay.
the flex space is, so the gardens, you have gardens, you have your historical garden, you have your native pollinator garden, right? You have a couple of demonstration educational gardens that could have seating within it, right?
And some paths, so you.
And some paths. Then you have a flexible program space that has potentially this seating around a tree and some shade and some, you know,
Rain protection.
yes.
So nothing will be planted in the ground.
Yeah, I think like a pavilion, right? Like, so, yeah, like, so with a cover, so like. Sometimes there could be a couple tables on it, so people could read there, but then if we wanted to have a band, we could take the tables off and the band could be there, or if they wanted to do like story time. Then that's what I heard, yeah.
This is a tenth of an acre.
It's
Like, how big is this room?
It's one-
I don't have any clue what we're talking about, when we talk
Like
about.
40 by 90.
40 by 90s, that's good. Yeah.
40 by 90, so how wide is this room?
Jeff, you have the number. It's
0.18 acre, right? So it's 0.18 acres. So most of your like suburban kind of lots are a quarter acre. Or a third,
So
third,
it's like
quarter.
half. So
It's the
it's
size of
a
large
backyard.
It's the size of a large backyard.
Of a quarter.
Right, it's kind of a Delmar lot or an oldie Delmar lot or a half of a suburban lot.
Okay, I just needed to kind of picture it.
Yes.
It was bigger than
It
this room.
doesn't have to, I mean, I'm saying pavilion because we were talking about something covered, but like, I don't know, at my Barnes and Noble store in the children's department, there was just like a 2-step stage. It's not even that big.
But the area,
Right, but so like the kids could sit on the steps and read when nothing else was happening. Or somebody could do story time from the stage, or we could put it just like, so it wasn't anything huge and fancy. You know, maybe like the size of this one table, but with 2 steps, so that could be the flex space with a sail and.
like again, at Five Rivers, you might look at it and think that those are just benches for sitting down, but actually the staff use that for when the classes come and the kids sit there, but it's minimal, you know, and it's kind of built into the environment.
Cause we do already have a big space over
Yeah, we have
here.
the space. We don't need, we have the green space for the Thursdays on.
The only thing, we had discussed about this before, like having programming on that lot might not be the greatest idea, it's so close to the road.
Well, we probably, I would say fencing or some
Yeah.
kind of thing.
But I think that that's why we're using the term flex space right now, is that we're leaving the possibility open for programming if safety is determined. We're leaving the opportunity there for seating if the seating is not permanent or is easily taken away. Or we're leaving the opportunity there for maybe a movable performance space, things like that. I think that's the idea, is that it is flex space to be developed. For, you know, I think for the purposes of potentially programming, reading, hanging out.
I think there's a lot of crossover between the gardens and this flex space. And so I guess in my head, when we're talking about it's such a small space, it is only 0.8 acres. There's a lot of non-mutual exclusivity between that. And I just don't want to I don't want to hang up this discussion on trying to separate out and parse those two.
Yes, I would say the main distinction in my brain is that if there's a garden, you shouldn't walk on it. You should not walk on the spaces where the
An elevated bed.
where the plants have been planted, do not walk on those. This flex space is space where we could put stuff because there are not plants planted there.
And it sounded like some of the staff was really interested to use that space for programming, to be outside doing messy things. That's fact.
But I think you're right, they're not necessarily,
Mutually
they
exclusive.
seem,
Right.
they go together
And
and they should be connected.
And I think in the vision boards, you're gonna see, like, is it like, this is a garden, and it is a formal garden that looks like. That has a lot of value in it, but when you look at the vision board, you're gonna see it. A lot of crossover, those two things.
So. Can we call it flex space when we do the straw poll? Does everyone understand what they're voting for when I say flex space based on the discussion we just had?
The vote is gonna be between gardens, flex space.
We're still doing the straw polls. To get to the list of whether we agree that we can present that.
And I don't think it's
Thing.
versus. I don't think you have to choose, you could vote for more than one.
Yes, of
You can
course,
vote for
yeah.
more than one, Michelle, you don't.
Yes, we're voting for the list of things.
So if
that
you
we're-
wanna add a vote to gardens, you can. Cause we're not choosing between them. It would be weird to choose for do nothing and also to choose for these, but I don't think you have to choose.
If it was all garden, we would put just flower seeds out in the whole space would be
Yeah.
non-walkable, non-sittable, because it was all
Yes.
flower. In your head.
Yes, so just to reiterate, I'm doing the straw polls to create the list of things. That we are all agreeing that we would want to move forward with, and then. Someone can make a motion and we can make the formal vote to move forward on those things. Or to present those things at the meeting, so that there is no question that we all voted on that. Does anyone want to, does anyone want to do this a different way?
It's feeling overly complex.
It
to be
is.
honest. I mean, can we just, I feel like we're all on the same page, but somehow making it. Like, so we just want a mixed use space that is some. Garden space of some kind as yet to be determined, and some usable space for humans, whether that's benches or pavilions or whatever, right? I mean,
Yes, the end just to state the end goal is that we had a request for a black and white vote at the end of this. So that everyone knows that there was a vote, that the board voted to move forward on specific things. So I think we can go about this in a couple of ways. We can continue, just trying to get everyone's input and make sure that everyone is heard and that every detail is worked out, or someone can make a motion.
I would make a motion that we create a welcoming space, which includes both flexible space and garden space. And when we do that, that we also look at the storage needs of the library if possible.
I second the motion.
All those in favor of the motion?
I would take off if possible.
Okay, you can take off if possible. Take off
I'm okay.
if possible.
Oh, there.
Take it off.
Okay.
It was a friendly amendment and I accept it.
Okay. Motion is passed.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a vote that we will.
Yep.
That exact wording? Kristen,
Welcoming space.
I'm gonna go back on the video, but
okay,
yes.
great.
Welcoming is the key word for that. I think it welcoming.
Okay, the second half of this discussion for tonight is to go over the proposal for CS Arch. This is a proposal to again plan the process to take the building down. This does not include the actual cost of taking down the building.
So the proposal is key to the statement of understanding. In the second paragraph, I'll just read it. There's a desire to explore if achievable. He's got all sorts of things like, all sorts of qualifiers here. So I think, that's great for the professional, for them, for CS Arch, but if we want water and electricity, it should be like, not a desire, we're gonna do that. We should make it stronger, because this allows them to.
Well, remember, this is a design.
I know, and
Right, so-
what's he designing,
He's designing the process of taking down the house
right?
to a grass yard. Okay?
Okay,
That's
so
what we've
you
asked them
just-
to
you
do.
just have a picture of the house and you
Minus house, minus
Foundation.
minus foundation.
hook up the electricity, try to hook up the water, make sure
Yeah.
there's water available.
Right, and I don't know, so the open question is, if you don't have a foundation and a structure, are you allowed to have a water hookup? With the Bethlehem Water Department? That's a lot of questions that's gonna have to be answered during the design. If that's a desired outcome for the board, it can absolutely happen.
Right,
It's,
if we're talking about a garden, you need water, I would argue.
we got hoses that go over from the library, it's nice to have,
Right.
but how much in the design there may be a significant change in the price of the actual work, which this is not. This
No,
is the design.
this is
When we
design,
go to
yeah.
bid the project out to somebody who has to come by and take on the house and do all the asbestos abatement and do all that
Right.
work to
all
do
the
that.
work.
Whatever would need to happen to make it so that the water service could stay on, maybe more, sounds to be to their engineer's brain, more complicated than keeping the electricity. So that may be a decision, there's gonna be some decisions that come to the board
Right,
when we're going through the design process, that would be like, do you want this, do you want this? This is what has to happen in order for the water service to be maintained. I don't know what X is. I have no idea what X
Right.
is, but it sounds like there could be an X, some kind of requirement.
to me, I understand all that, and I get
Yeah.
that, and I appreciate that, to me, it's like. It's written kind of squishy,
Okay, well, and
so I would just say, as long as you have a verbal agreement with the guy, like, listen, this is the deal. We want electricity, we want water, we want to explore that specifically, and then there's a fencing thing, like, fencing will be expanded, well. Is he designing fencing?
it might be part of the design, right?
But it might not be part, the way I read this,
Well, if you guys don't want a fence, then it won't be part.
but what are we buying? With this guy, with this proposal? We're buying.
Not fencing.
No, we're buying him maybe designing fence or maybe not designing fencing. That's the way I read it. Like, it's too squishy. It's like we should say, we want you to help us do the following. It should be clear.
Which I could do if we were at all clear on what we wanted to design, which we are 100% not.
Well,
So
that's true, but we,
So I'm asking questions to design. I'm just pushing back a little more.
I appreciate that, yeah.
I was put to get a design proposal put together with a ton of squish from our side about what it is we want this thing to be. So I'm like, okay, give me a lot with grass on it. Maybe some fencing, because we haven't made any decisions about fencing. You know, does the fence continue to separate the property from the library property? Does it just separate us from TL Row? What does that look like?
Exactly.
So there's some squish there. And then they designed the project mostly around taking down the house, but this does not include any of like a structure or any of that stuff. That would be a separate design,
Okay.
probably an add alternate to this. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I always get worried about squishy
Fair enough.
understandings, because
Yeah.
we want to know what we're buying for him to do,
To do
for
the
them to
design,
do.
yeah.
We need to know where the electricity comes from.
Yep, I'll just say, it's incumbent upon us, to Jeff's point. It is incumbent upon us to tell them what we need to do, and while we just voted to move forward on some things for the property, and that's great, and that, you know, I voted for the motion, I think that the point of trying to pin down certain things is so that this portion of the planning process can take place. So
Right, because that's the other option, is we could wait until we know a little bit more clearly about what it is exactly that we want. I understand, but I'm saying that we could, and then have an idea of what I'm asking them to do, and then have that design done that's based around, you know, I'd like structure and this gardens that look like this, and this is what I need to do that. So I'm a little bit.
Well, so I have a question. So
Yes.
perhaps I'm not remembering something, but in my mind, I don't really think we need water in this facility. And if that's the harder thing anyway, we just jettison it. We don't care about the water. And then the electricity, unless it turns out that it's like $1 billion, this is just my opinion. Why wouldn't we just say we want the electricity and have them run it to whatever that looks like? I don't know, some kind of box or however that works, so that it is there. And then even if we just plug in a light post later, like we've used it. But if we do get the building for us or for the Friends, it's there and ready to go. Now, my opinion on that would change if they say, well, getting that electricity is thousands upon thousands of dollars, but if it doesn't add that much cost, why wouldn't we just say we want it and worry about what we're gonna do with it later?
I mean, it seems like that's what they're saying they're gonna do, though. I mean, we're the clients and they're gonna tell us, hey, electricity, no problem, that we can do this. Water, maybe we can't because of various town issues or whatever. I don't read this to say that they're being squishy. We're the client, and
There's a desire to explore maintaining electricity if achievable.
okay,
if achievable, it's not, it's
That's
if
the
it's
intent
like
of it.
physically achieved, right? If it's physically achievable.
so I think that we can go about this one of two ways. We can say we don't like their wording. Point well taken.
I just want to be.
Or we can say, okay, these are the edits that we want to make. We want to ensure that you are planning for A, B, and C. What are those things?
Well, I have a general question. It's a timeline question. So July and August are summer reading of time. And so in this proposal, will they be telling us how we need to secure the area against it? I'm speaking as a kid who had a school built across the street, who climbed in the sewer pipes.
Yep.
So in that part of my life. So as part of this, are they going to tell us how to secure?
So this isn't your construction manager, this is the designer, this is the engineer and the architect
We're not there yet.
telling you.
What you bring up is very.
You're saying, yeah, it's super critical, but it's not.
We're not there yet.
Not yet.
Okay,
That's
so
not what they-
that's not part of this process. This is just the house
Design work.
itself.
Yes, if we think about it, this is
to clarify.
what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, okay, they're planning, they're gonna say, this is. We're putting together on a piece of paper everything that you wanna do with this property. And we're gonna help you work through the regulatory process for that. That is what CSR is doing. And then we're gonna go out and we're gonna get people to actually do what they plan. And things
Yeah,
that
okay.
involves taking down the building and doing things like securing the property and making sure that children are not knocked down by
Well,
the.
they don't climb the fence. and
Ex-
look.
exactly.
Yeah.
But construction administration is on this. So does that
They're
make?
not, we had the same question last time we went with CSRs. They're not,
They're not gonna-
it's,
Of
yeah,
the
contract construction administration. It's not, it's
contract.
different. It's different than construction administration and it's what we're talking about what CBRE does. Right, we're talking about in the middle of it, someone comes back, like we had a question about the boiler. There was a question about, is this type of flue acceptable? It's a change. And so is this type of flue acceptable? Yes, it is. That's what they do when they're
Okay.
on construction administration.
So you need a vote on this?
Well, if I'm gonna engage a contract with them to sign a contract, I absolutely need your permission. It's over my authorization. So yeah, we need to vote on this. And there will be a contract, an actual the AIA contract that comes by that has to be vetted by our attorney. There's a whole other part of this process. This is about, are you authorizing me to engage for $22,900, engage in the design work with CSR to knock down the house and then do these things under the statement of understanding.
I agree with Mark. I'd like to see that one sentence changed to instead of there's the desire. Library board would like to maintain electric service. I agree about the water stuff, but I would like it to be a little bit stronger.
Okay.
Okay.
And then if achievable, I mean, they're gonna come back, Laura, one way or another and tell us if they can't do it, they're gonna say, we can't do this for you or for. So that's right.
So just to, points that we can go back to them to clarify on. We wanted to affirmatively say that we would like to retain electrical.
Yes.
Okay, what do we want it to say about water?
It could be a fountain, it could be, I mean, I think it's worthwhile for them to see if they can keep it.
Okay. What we want them,
Whatever your wording is gonna be like, we wanna, oh, no, you said you wanna be definitive about electric.
well, I mean, what we're basically saying is tell us how to retain the electric. I
Right.
think we're also saying, tell us how to retain the
Yeah,
water.
look into the water. I mean, that's the priority is electric.
Okay.
And if they think it's gonna be expensive, CSR is gonna come back and say, well, we can do this for you, but it's gonna be $1 million. And so we can say, okay, let us rethink that as a board.
Okay, fencing, do we want them to look into what would be required for fencing?
No, this says fencing will be expanded.
Yeah, and that's the fencing along the property line between TL Row and the library's property.
And we need that, why?
It is my experience that traditionally, good fences make good neighbors when it comes to people who live near the library.
And then I thought we were gonna do grading changes at some point. A big project, right? Great, big.
You might, yeah, but not for this project. And so that's actually one of the things I went back and forth with them.
Yeah.
Grading changes. So if we go out there, there's a significant grade change on the side of the property. To bring that up to grade with the library
It's big money.
it is huge money and expands a ton of stormwater issues.
Okay.
Like there's just a lot to deal with that, and that seemed vastly outside the scope of this. If you were gonna use it to expand the building onto that piece of property, it would absolutely need to be graded, and doing that project, it would be a much larger project, and you'd say, yeah, we need to bring it up to grade so that we can expand the building. That is not in the scope, it's sort of explicitly out of the scope.
So,
Okay, that's fine. I got the one other question.
Yeah.
So the second and I looked at this too carefully, sorry, but to assume that we do have a hazard engineering report, we have a site
We
survey.
do, yeah.
If additional information is required, they're gonna charge us more.
Yeah.
What else do they need? I mean, you have a site survey, you have materials and report. Do they like, what else do you need? I don't know what else you need. Is there some like deeper hazardous materials like board that they need to have?
I think it leaves a little bit of room open, if the zoning board of appeals comes back to us and says, hey, we need to have.
Or testing?
I'm a little bit concerned with the stormwater runoff thing, but let's just say they were concerned about that, and then we need to have a study on that. That's not under this proposal that would be included.
Okay,
I wanna go back to the fencing for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we asking them to look into fencing on just the side where the accounting firm is? Or are we asking them to look at what is required for fencing up to the street and against the parking lot?
And don't we have to have fencing at the street?
Oh,
Don't we wanna wait and see, like, don't we want the? I'm sorry, are they designing the flex space currently?
No.
No,
Right,
this
they're not.
is,
So wouldn't fencing be part of that project, like if we wanted hedgerows or something?
yes, but what they are looking at is what is required for us, to have shovels ready to put in that fence.
That's why it fence between properties, so that TLRO can't say, oh, you threw your dirt on my property, now you have to clean up my property as well.
I think it's just,
Well, figure that out.
Like, I think it's more along the lines of, okay, if you wanna put in fencing, do we have to get some sort of permit for that? Do you have to get, like, what goes into the plan for this?
Is there a fence there now?
There's a fence between us and the house. Yeah, absolutely.
What
No,
about
it's not.
between the house and Farrell?
There is,
no, it's not, that's why.
yeah, that's the question is do we as a library think it's important to have a fence? And we do with much of the rest of the properties that are.
Yeah.
You think about all along the back, by the parking lot. Not so much. We have sort of a post fence, yeah.
I think that's important too, especially if we plan to have this be a space where people are outside using it, you don't want people trespassing.
Right.
So I think that is important.
Okay.
So like Laura said, then just on the side and the front part we'll leave to when we design whatever the flex space is gonna be.
This allows, it just says generally fencing will be expanded, doesn't say where that fencing will be.
What I think the point is that we are asking them to tell us anything that might be necessary if we wanted to fence it on all 4 sides.
Yeah.
They will not be building the fence, they're just telling us what we need to do.
Alright, so I'm happy to go back with them and talk. Sorry, is there anything else? Okay, so I will go back with them and talk about the changes to the sort of rewarding for the electric work and service. Yes.
I don't think we need to see it again, so if it's okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the proposal with the changes that we have suggested at tonight's meeting. If there, that's my motion, so that you don't have to come back to us again, you can just.
I agree, I was gonna suggest the same.
Alright, a motion in a second.
Anyone want a second Gail's motion?
I think Michelle kind of did.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very nice. Okay, so now.
Think, old business. I think that the Director Evaluation Committee just wanted to give a brief update on where we are. Or if-
Yeah, so we sent out the email, feedback is due back to us by
When did you send an email?
Last week.
yeah,
Okay.
Received it.
that's it. In fact, I feel like Mark in particular, I double checked you because you had a couple different emails.
Okay.
If you didn't get it, let me know and I'll send it again. I thought I had it.
Looked it up.
February 8th, I have.
Oh, February.
Eight? Okay.
Oh, January 28th.
Oh, January 28th.
January 28th.
Sounds right.
Okay.
Is that?
From Sarah.
It was embedded. They had a surgery.
Okay.
If anyone needs it, just let us know. We'll move
Okay,
forward.
yeah, so.
Okay, any other old business?
We skip the.
Oh, sorry, Jeff wants to talk about the boiler.
Sorry, get super excited about anything to do with HVAC. Okay, so the boiler, because it has been inordinately cold, the engineers and our contractor both agreed to not take the boiler out. We knew it was gonna be a wintertime project. We have other sources to heat the building, but that was down to below the design day for the building, and we're talking in the negative number. So as soon as our winter weather returns to sort of normal winter weather, they will proceed with the install. The boiler is here. All of the parts to install the boiler are here. The work has been done on the drain, and that has been, concrete work is done in there. So the drain has been moved to where it needs to be able to drain the condensate from our new condensing boiler, which is nice. And then the biggest change was that, as part of our project, we'd originally designed an asbestos abatement because there's a hot layer in the roof, right? So it's asbestos plastic in the roof. When they were going to pull the pipe out of that would have exposed the asbestos, and so it required an abatement. So the clever idea that was come up with was to use the existing metal flue as a sleeve and run the new exhaust flue up inside that, which still meets the required size, and then not disturb the mastic layer in the roof at all. So just use that, punch up through, just not punch up, just go right up the inside with the new plastic PVC pipe, because the exhaust gases are at like touchable temperatures rather than super hot like our current boiler exhausts, like really hot gas. This will be exhausting like most of people's furnaces in your house. There's a little PVC pipe that comes out of the side of the house and shoots a little warm air that melts some snow in the winter, but it's not hot. So that is the temperature that our new condensing boiler will exhaust, so that will go up inside, thus eliminating the need to do the abatement on that because we're not disturbing the layer. That's exciting news because that makes the project a lot easier. And we don't have to have the big red stickers all over the building, asbestos abatement, even though the abatement would have been a relatively small abatement and up at the roof. So, and anything that doesn't disturb the rubber of the roof, I'm in favor of, because anytime you touch that, there is a small chance you can get leaks. So we're not touching it. Okay. So that's that. Boiler update completed. As soon as it gets warm, you'll hear me talking about new boiler. But the big thing, the boiler is here. It's sitting right next to the old boiler. And if something were to happen to the boiler today, that is go time on the project. And as soon as the weather gets back up into, so we were in the 30s, lows below 30, highs above 30, kind of in there, it'll be a go time for the project. So it's that we don't have any heat other than the boiler in the hallways. So think about the hallways, there's no vents out there that blows hot air. So we have some in here that occasionally blows hot air, but out in the hallway, there isn't any. And so if we turn that off, then the hallways, which are open to the outside, have no heat, and that's not awesome at -5 degrees. So there we go. I'm done.
Any other old business? Does anyone have future business? Do we have any more public participation in the room?
This is the first time I've ever been to one of these meetings, and I have a lot to say. I'm sorry.
Okay. I got
First of all.
3 minutes.
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Patty, and I've lived in this town for 46 years, and my background is healthcare, and I gotta tell you, you have CSCA is your union.
You stand up just so we could see you, sorry.
Oh, your union rep should,
You don't need to move.
should negotiate a better rate for healthcare. I was in the business. You can do a better rate. So I don't know if you have a rep that you regularly talk to, that,
The union has a
okay, so, but they should be able to, work with an insurance company to give you a better rate. What's your coverage? What plan? CDPHP?
Yeah, the public participation is just a time for you to talk to
Oh,
us.
all right. So anyways, it can be done. Trust me, it can be done. Second thing is, you talk about the outdoor space. You gotta have a bathroom out there, because nobody's gonna be able to get from there back around into here to get a bathroom. And if you're talking about having multi-use space, you gotta have a bathroom out there. So to put the water and the electric in there, in that little building, put a bathroom. Is my time up?
Nope.
Okay, garden space, you're gonna get skunks, deer, and rabbits. So as long as you know that, garden space. All right. All I have to say.
Do we have any public participation online? Oh, yes, sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
That's okay. I just wanted to say, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, yes, we know we need space for storage, and we're happy to talk about it. We have not discussed it as a board. What we think we might need, we need input for Jeff on that, and of course, we want to work with the trustees. Space for all of us would be a wonderful thing.
Anyone else? Anyone online?
No.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Thanks, everyone.